So we are studying about sound today. This is our last chapter for the syllabus. What exactly is sound? We already know from previous years that sound is a form of energy which produces the sensation of hearing, right? So sound, again, remember, is a form of energy. You've done energy chapter in detail. Okay. So since this is a form of energy, so we will need a source to produce the energy, because we know energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be transferred from one form to the other. So we hear different types of sounds in living as well as non-living things. So this energy is produced by a body or an object which vibrates. So a vibrating body produces an energy which is called sound, right? Is this clear? So if the vibration stop, the sound stops. A device which is used to measure, which is used for produce sound, we have a tuning fork, a very common one which is used. You must have used this in your school, in your laboratories also. We have these prongs which are there and a stem. And we have these two prongs which are vibrating, right? It is a U-shape, it's a metallic device. So if we strike this surface, what happens is they creates a motion. It's a to and fro motion of both the prongs, and they vibrate and produces a sound. Okay. So that is what a sound is made by. So it's a form of energy which is produced by a vibrating body. Now we know that a sound, now for example, this tuning fork is vibrated here, and we have a ear over here. Okay. We say that we can hear this sound at a faraway distance. So sound has to travel. To travel, sound requires a medium, because these vibrations are passed along the molecules of the medium to reach our ear. We have a eardrum which vibrates further and gives us the sound, right? So the sound energy is converted into electrical energy, which is intercepted by our brain. So the most important part is that the sound waves to travel, it requires a medium for traveling. This traveling of sound is also called propagation of sound, right? So for sound to travel or to propagate, it requires a medium, because the medium, the molecules are, or the particles of that medium, for example, in this case, it was air, they also have to vibrate and pass along the sound to our ears, right? Now, sound is a source which travels in all directions. It's not only in one direction. And because what happens if I have an object here, this will vibrate in all directions. So sound will propagate in all the directions which are there. Okay. Is it clear so far? Everyone clear so far?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, what is the speed of sound? The speed of sound will again depend on the medium in which it is traveling. So this depends on the medium. Why does this depend on the medium? Because we just said that sound travels or propagates because of the vibrations of the molecules or particles of that medium, right? So depending on the medium itself, the sound's propagation or speed or traveling will depend upon. Can you guess, out of the three states of matter, which will it be the fastest, the less fast, and the slowest? We have a solids, liquids, and gases. Sound will travel fastest in which medium?
Solid.
Why is that?
So because solids have least intermolecular spaces.
Right. So we know that in a solid, if a sound is being propagated from here, what will happen? These molecules are very tightly packed together. And this molecule will also start vibrating. Now, as soon as this molecule starts vibrating, it will immediately affect the next molecule and so on. And the sound will propagate here and we'll be able to hear it here. Right? Whereas in the case of gases, what's there? Even again, the sound is being vibrated. This is the body which is creating the sound. Now, these molecules are furtherly spread apart. The air molecules. These are which molecules? The molecules of air, or the particles of air. These will also vibrate, but to spread the energy to the other molecule, it will take some time. Therefore, the sound will travel slower, right? So the fastest is solids, then is liquids, and the least slow is gases. So in these movies now, you hear that we are in space, a huge explosion takes place or an alien comes, right? And we hear this character screaming in space. Is that theoretically possible?
No, sir, because there's no medium in space.
Right? So there is no medium. So when they show that you can hear the explosion or you can hear someone screaming, that is technically not possible. Now you know why? Because for sound to propagate, it requires a medium. And you know that space is basically nothing but vacuum. So sound cannot propagate or travel in space. Okay, please quickly just copy this down. Okay. Going further. Now, sound, when sound waves are propagating in air, what happens is, okay, what is the speed of sound in iron? A few basic ones. The iron, the speed of sound is around 5,000 meters per second, right? In water, it is roughly 1,500 meters per second. And in it is air, it is relatively slow. It is only around 330 meters per second. This is the speed of sound in different mediums which are there, right? Okay. Now this propagation of sound takes in the form of something called rarefactions and compressions. Okay, because this creates a disturbance in the medium. For example, if we have a vibrating body over here and our normal air molecules, now let's take the example of air. Okay, so these are the normal air molecules which are there, air particles. This is the normal position. This body is not vibrating, it's just a normal body now. Now, supposing this body starts vibrating. So what it will do is it will push these air molecules to the side because of the vibrations. So because of this, what will happen is these molecules will come close together, whereas these ones will remain in the same place. Right? Now, what happens is, a vibrating body will first vibrate outwards and then it will come back inside. So it will come back here, right? That's how the vibrations work. So when this body becomes back inside, what happens is, again, there is a region of lower compression over here. And this one, since it was already pushed, travels further. And this one remains the same. Okay. Again, what happened? Again, the vibrating body will move outwards. So there will again be a region of high compression, a low compression, and again, this one will be traveling further here and here. So this way, what will happen is there will always be regions of compressions and rarefactions or relaxations which are there. So if you see that sound waves, they travel through a series of compressions and a series of relaxations or refractions, as we call it. Okay. Is this part understood?
Yes, sir.
Rest of you, have you all understood how this happens? So it's basically when the body is vibrating, it vibrates outside and it pushes the other air molecules closer together. And when it comes back, there is a space, an empty space which is created, which becomes a normal position over there. And this zone of compression was already present there. Okay. So now if you see that the wave is transferring in going in this directions, and the molecules are also going in this directions. So if we see that the movement of the molecules of the medium and the movement of the wave, if it's in the same direction, then it is called a longitudinal wave. Okay. So a longitudinal wave, Sarah, I'll explain it again to you. A longitudinal is a wave in which the vibrations of particles of the medium are in the same direction as the direction of propagation of the wave. Okay. One important point to remember is that when these when the sound wave propagates, the molecules only vibrate. They don't leave the position. Okay. They don't leave position. Please remember this. It's not that the entire molecule is going on the other particle goes to the other side. It's only the vibrations which transfers across the wave itself. So that means that these particles which are there, these particles of sound, they just vibrate about their mean positions. The original one is still in the mean position itself. It is just vibrating and passing along the vibrations along the wave, which is, that's why it's called a longitudinal wave. Is this part clear, everyone? Sarah Vastani, I'll explain it again to you. Please copy this definition of longitudinal wave down. Sia, is it clear? Sarah Patil, clear? Suramya?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sarah Vastani, unmute yourself.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now think of it. This is a prong, a tuning fork. When the tuning fork is not stuck, let's think that these are the normal particles of the air. Is this clear? Sarah, is this clear?
Yes.
Now I'm going to strike this fork. So what will happen is when the prong is struck, the prong vibrates outside like this. Let me change the color so that it will be very clear for you to understand. Okay, just give me a second. Let me just copy this so that. Okay. Now think of it this way. Now I strike this prong. So what will happen? The prong will vibrate. So it will go outside. From, let's take this O position to A position. Yes or no?
Yes.
Now, when this vibrates, what will happen is it creates a zone of compressed air, or the molecules of the air, they come closer together. because it's going to push the molecules of air together, isn't it? Now, this prong was there and this air was here. So if I push this outside, won't these molecules come closer together? That creates a zone of compression, or a zone in which the molecules, they come closer together. Is this clear, Sarah?
Yes.
Sarah, is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now let's take that prong again. Now the prong is continuously vibrating. So what will happen? From A, the prong will come back to the original position O. Yes.
Yes, after vibration.
So what will happen is now these molecules, they will spread apart. But this molecules which were pushed along in this direction is going to now transfer still here. Right? The prong came back from A to O. So there was a region of lower area or lower pressure here, as a result of which these molecules, they could come back to the original position. So a normal zone was created. Whereas these molecules, if I push you, won't you continue traveling in that same direction? So these molecules which were pushed earlier in orange, they are going to continue traveling in this direction. So the compression zone came here and we have this zone of rarefaction or relaxation here. Clear?
Yes.
Now what will happen? This prong will come in the opposite direction. It will become here. So it will come to the other side, because we know that the prong will first vibrate this side and then it will vibrate here. So now what will happen is that the entire area will have a low pressure area here. So now there is excess space available and these molecules will become further spread apart. Whereas this one is already traveling along the wave direction here. Right?
Yes.
So continuously now it will come back to the normal position. So again, they will be in the normal position. Then it will go back to the A position. So again, it is going to push them together. Then again, it will come back to the mean position. So it will become again normal. And then we have the reason of higher compression. Then again, it will go outside. So there'll be a further spreading apart, or normal, and then that higher compression zone. So this will continue. So what we will see is that this wave continues traveling along, and continuously we'll have these regions of higher compressions, lower compressions, normals, and the high compressions again. Okay. So these regions in which the number of particles or the density of the particles in a particular region increases, they are called compressions. And we denote them with C. Whereas that region in which the density of molecules or the density of the particles is less, they are regions of rarefaction. So we have regions of compressions and regions of rarefactions. Okay, these are denoted by C and these are denoted by R. So if you look at a vibrating body, what will happen is we will have these continuous regions of high compressions and low compression. So it'll be something like this. We have the normal one, then we'll have the compressions again. We'll have the normal ones and the spread out, and we'll have the compressions again, and so forth. So we'll have a region of rarefaction, compressions, rarefactions, compressions, rarefactions, compressions, rarefactions, compressions, and so forth, until it reaches a ear or the place. Okay. Now, one compression plus rarefaction becomes equal to a sound wave. Okay. So if I add a compression, if I add one compression and one rarefaction, I get a sound wave. Or I get one sound wave. Please copy this down. Sarah Bastani, I hope it's clear.
Yes, sir.
So compressions are regions of high density of the particles or molecules of that medium. whereas rarefractions are low density of the medium. If you want to see animations regarding this, you can just Google it up. A lot of animations are there which will show you this transfers of waves across this medium. Let me see if I can show you anything. Just give me a second. Okay, can you see the screen over here? This is the longitudinal wave on the left-hand side. You can see this this vibrating body here. What is it doing is pushing the molecules together, and these molecules, they're transferring across the wave. And then when it goes back to the original position, what happens is the molecules, they spread apart. That are the region of rarefractions. Can you see this animation over here, everyone? Is it visible to everyone? Yes or no? Okay, let's continue. Any doubts so far? Let me just show you one more diagram. Now, if we map these regions of compressions and rarefractions, we'll get something like a wave like this. Okay. So each of these regions of compressions maps to a region higher up in the wave. Each of these regions of rarefractions maps to a trough in the wave. So we have one wave. Okay. If this is the mean position, we will have a region of compression and a region of rarefractions. So this is a region of compression here, and this is a region of rarefraction because it's going one side and the other side of the wave. And together, the region of compression and rarefraction, this is called one sound wave. Are you able to visualize this? If we see it in a horizontal way, what will happen is we will have it looking like this. This is a wave, right? Because when we had that body which was vibrating, it will first vibrate outside, then it will vibrate this side, right? So it will create a zone of compression and a zone of rarefactions. This is what the wave is basically looking like. Please copy this down. So one complete to and fro motion of the vibrating body creates a complete compression and rarefraction, which together make up a wave. And these waves are called longitudinal waves because the transfers of energy is in the same direction as transfers of the wave itself. These waves can be produced in all three: solids, liquids, and gases. Remember, the molecules, they don't leave the position, they just vibrate about the mean. Like I saw in the graph, It was only the energy which was moving, the wave itself was not moving. Okay. Now there are a few terms related to sound waves. Is this clear, everyone, so far? Because if this is not clear, a lot of concepts will go wrong. Any doubts, Sara Bastani, Sara Patil, Sia, Suramya? Any doubts, anyone? Okay. So now there are a few terms which we need to know. Now look at this wave itself. This is the x-axis on which the main or the mean position above the wave, right? We have a trough and we have a crest which is there. This is the y-axis which measures the distance traveled, right? Now there are a few terms which we need to know. First is oscillation. What is oscillation? What is oscillation? It is one complete to and fro motion about a mean position constituting a wave, right? So if we look at this diagram over here, and let me say that this is point A over here, and this is, let me put it in another color for you all. Let this be point A, let this be point E. So this point AE would be one oscillation or one wave. Is this clear? So the first one is oscillation. It is one complete to and fro motion about a mean position constituting a wave. In this diagram, it is from point A to point E. That is one wave. So if we had multiple waves like this, so again, each of this from point E to point F would be again a wave. So this will be one wave or one oscillation again, right? The second term which we need to use is displacement. What is displacement? Or not displacement. Okay, before that, let's use wavelength. So you can relate it to the oscillation wave itself. The distance between two consecutive compressions or rarefractions is called wavelength. Okay. So this will be distance between points. Let's say, let's take the points again now. Let's say on the compression side, we have points B, and on this side we have points F. So this would become the distance BF. Or if we have along the rarefraction, because you know this is the zone of compressions and the lower one is the zone of rarefractions. Let this point be D and let this point be H. So this would be either of BF or DH. So this distance either on the trough or the crest is called as a wavelength. Okay. Wavelength is denoted by the Greek symbol lambda. So this is wavelength, which is denoted by the Greek symbol lambda. Here, A to E was denoted by the oscillation or a wave. Is this clear? These are very important terms. It will be there till the 10th. So please understand them clearly today itself. So we have a wave or an oscillation, which is one complete to and fro about a mean position, which constitutes one wave. Wavelength is the distance between two consecutive compressions. These compressions, they are also called troughs. Sorry, crests and troughs. So a compression is called a crest and a rarefaction is called a trough. Okay. Any doubts so far? Is this clear? Then we have the third term, which is called amplitude. What is amplitude? The maximum displacement of a wave on either side of the mean position. Okay, so in this case, if we refer to it, let's say these points B. Okay, so this distance over here, this distance. Okay, this distance, this one and this one on either side, this is known as the amplitude. Most common unit of measuring amplitude is something called angstrom. We will be doing this next year when we measure molecules, the sizes of molecules. Okay. So if you look at a wave, this distance over here on either side is the amplitude. If you look at the wavelength over here, so distance between two consecutive compressions and rarefactions is a wavelength. So what is a wavelength? This distance from here till here, or from here till here. This was a wavelength. If you make these diagrams, it will become very easy for you all to remember this. Any doubts so far, anyone? The fourth is time period. Okay. The time taken by the wave to complete one oscillation is called time period. It is denoted as T and measured in seconds. Okay, so this one wave oscillation that we did. Okay, so if you look at the graph again, we had one oscillation which was from here till here, this distance. How long does this take? When we measure this in seconds, that is nothing but the time period. How long does it take to make one wave? Does it take 1 second? Does it take milliseconds? Whatever it might be. That is called the time period. It is denoted by the capital letter T. These are very important concepts. If you don't understand them, please let me know. So think of a wave and start relating these concepts there. Please quickly copy this down. We have one more term to do, which is frequency. Please make these graphs, make these diagrams, copy the definitions down. Sia, have you copied the definitions? Is everyone done? Anybody still copying? If anyone's still copying, please raise your hand. Otherwise, I will move ahead. Okay. And lastly, we have something called a frequency. The number of sound waves passing through a point in the medium in 1 second is called the frequency of the wave, or the number of oscillations completed in 1 second is called the frequency. How many oscillations is it making in 1 second? For example, now if I have this graph over here, and this is the period of 1 second, okay, is it making only one wave? So in this case, it will become 1 hertz. Frequency is measured in something called hertz, and it is written as F. And frequency is denoted by a small f. So in this case, only 1 wave is made in 1 second. So its frequency is 1 hertz. On the other hand, if you look here, again, this is period point of 1 second. 2 waves are made. This is 1 wave and this is the second wave. This is the first wave, second wave. So this will be 2 hertz. Again, another one. Again, if this was 1 second, 1, 2, 3. What will be the frequency in this case? Can anybody quickly tell me what will be the frequency in this case? Sia?
Yes, sir.
What will be the frequency? In this case,
Yes, sir.
what will be the frequency? I just told you the number of waves made in a second is called frequency. I have this graph in front of me, graph C. What will be the frequency over here?
4
4.
4 hertz.
4 hertz. Why? Because we have 4 complete waves. We have 1 wave here, the second wave
4
here,
waves.
3 waves here, and the 4th wave here. So it will become 4 hertz. Is that
4
clear?
hertz.
Now, there is one interesting relationship between time period and frequency. Remember, time period is the time taken for completing 1 wave. Remember that frequency is equal to 1 upon the time period. Or F is equal to 1 upon T. This is the relationship between the frequency of a wave and its time period. Time period is nothing but how long does it take to make 1 wave. Frequency is the number of waves made in 1 second. So frequency is 1 upon the time period. So if my time period, supposing, is 1, what will become the frequency? 1 hertz. If my time period is 2 seconds, then what will become the frequency? Half hertz or 0.5 hertz. Right? Please copy this down, everyone. So these are all the basic terms which we need to remember related to sound. Any doubts, anyone? So we had oscillation, which is one complete to and fro motion of a wave. That is an oscillation. A wavelength is the distance between two consecutive compressions or refractions. Is a wavelength that is denoted by the Greek letter lambda and measured in, right? It's a measure, it shows in lambda. Then amplitude is the maximum displacement about the mean position on either side. Its unit is angstrom. Time period is the time taken by a wave to complete one oscillation. It is denoted by T and it is measured in seconds. Frequency is the number of vibrations in 1 second, denoted by F, measured in hertz. And the relationship between frequency and time period is frequency is 1 upon the time period. Correct? Any doubts in any of the concepts in sound? Which was, what is sound? How does it propagate? What are the, why is sound a longitudinal wave? And lastly, the terms related to sound itself. Okay, that's it for today. We'll be continuing with this chapter tomorrow. I'll see you then. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, sir. Bye, sir.